Welcome back to the show, everybody. Jordan and I are out here at beautiful Lake Shuswap in interior BC. The sun is shining, the beaches are sandy, the damselflies are mating, and I have an exciting new camera to play with. This here is the Godox C100. This is an interesting camera. We actually shoot through a plastic frameline viewfinder just like this. And I know this is not the first example of this camera, but when I saw this, I was genuinely intrigued, excited to play with it and see how this new and novel design works for actual applications. So as you can see out here, it's beautiful, it's pristine, it's idyllic. Our moods were high, we're having a great time until I started messing around with this camera. I'm Chris Niccolls, this is PetaPixel, and oh my Godox, I hate this thing. B&H is a wonderful place to get pretty much anything you can think of when it comes to photographic gear, videographic gear, and professional audio equipment. They've got a huge store with tons of stock, and right now there's a really great way to buy stuff at B&H. Just get one of their Payboo credit cards because this gives you two big advantages. So first, you can buy all of your gear and save the sales tax. B&H will refund the sales tax back to you when you make your purchases. To check your eligibility for Save the Tax benefits, visit bhphoto.com/Payboo, or you have another option. You can finance expensive purchases over 6 months or a year using your B&H Payboo credit card, and this just makes it a little bit easier to spread those costs over a longer period of time. But as always, remember that this is a credit card, so you want to use it responsibly, and you do have to get approved for this card. So to learn more, go to bhphoto.com/Payboo. So look into getting your own B&H Payboo credit card today. It is provided to you by Comenity Capital Bank. Okay, so look, right off the bat, I know I'm not the target audience for this camera, but it's intended for people who want to do selfies, take pictures of their meals, go traveling, go out for a day on the city. And I did have an opportunity to take this to Japan and test it on my travels there. So you're going to see some shots from that, as well as just from here at the campsite and whatnot. And so I feel like I've had plenty of time to get my thoughts down. Now, why I was first intrigued by this camera? Well, a few reasons. First off, it does look adorable. I mean, look on the back of the camera here, all the things you should take pictures of. Burgers and friends, and you got dancing, you got movie stuff, you have an eggplant. My guess, why not? I'm not going to judge. It's intended to be this daily lives kind of camera. And I love the design. I mean, it's a very cute little look to it. It's actually quite comfortable to hold. Only weighs 65 grams. You can barely feel it. I would just tuck it in my pocket and go out for the day. And so in that regard, it was really convenient to have. And then this see-through viewfinder, well, I mean, this is where the magic should happen. And this is what first intrigued me about using a camera like this. You can see it's a bit darker than the surrounds. It's not just clear plastic. There's actually a liquid crystal heads-up display embedded in there, and that's pretty cool. This will show me things like what photo or video mode I'm in, what my battery life is like, where the center of the frame is, and I can even change different aspect ratios. Now, as we look at the body design, you can see here on the back, there's the lens itself. It's actually positioned at the top of the camera above the screen, and that's going to become important in just a little bit. We'll talk about that. Otherwise, controls are very similar. You got a big shutter button. It's actually very easy to find and use with your thumb, nice and comfortable. I never really dropped the camera as much as I thought I would. And then here you've got a control bar, right and left. In photo mode, this will cycle through your aspect ratios. There's also a center button, but you don't really use that for photo mode. That's actually used more when you're doing the light meter function, which we'll talk about later. Otherwise, there's a little switch here on the side of the camera, and honestly, this is quite fiddly. You're not going to accidentally, change it. It's very, very hard to click, but because it's very hard to click, when you turn the camera off and then back into a mode, often you'll overskip that mode and go into video or even light meter if you're pushing hard enough. So that just takes a little bit of practice. It's a little bit fiddly. You can't do it quickly. Now, first big strike against this camera, it has an internal battery. There's nothing to remove, and I hate that because it immediately shouts e-waste to me. If I ignore this camera and don't keep the battery charged, it's going to fail eventually and it'll become garbage. You do recharge that though just through the standard USB-C port here, and you can also use that to download photos off of the memory. What memory, you ask? Well, this takes micro SD cards. That makes sense. It'll support up to 128 gigabytes, but one early frustration for me, when I opened the card that I put in here, it wasn't formatted to exFAT or FAT32, and those are the formats that this camera recognizes. So when I first put it in there, I didn't get a warning indication. It's just every photo I took disappeared into the ether. Nothing got recorded to the memory card in there. So what I actually had to do was reformat the card to FAT32, then the camera recognized it, and I mean 128 gigs of storage, that's way too much. I don't need that. I should use a smaller card in there because these are natively 2 megapixel files, okay? And they shoot a 16:9 aspect ratio because this is basically a dash cam in here. So because we're on family vacation here, my daughter Maddie is with me, and Maddie, why should the viewers at home consider getting a PetaPixel membership? It's only $3 a month or $30 a year.
Because it gives me food, shelter, and a dog to cuddle.
Oh, that's very good reasons, but there's also other great reasons. They get big benefits. First off, if they're gonna get Capture One, they get 20% off their first year. That's a big chunk of cash, and so many more. Look at all the benefits. Look around us, Maddie. Do you see all the benefits on the frame? Yeah. So consider getting a PetaPixel.com membership. It really helps us out to keep you alive. I don't know, Jordan, should I just throw this in the garbage right now and be done with it? It's right there. But then I feel guilty. It's gonna turn into e-waste and landfill. If I throw it in the recycling, do you think someone will recycle it?
No.
Probably not. Ah, jeez.
Back to the review.
Yeah. Okay, so let's address this actual viewfinder situation, this screen that you look through. Now, the idea of this is that it should really free up your shooting experience by just making everything simple. I can just look with my eye and frame up, and naturally, what people are gonna do is hold it at arm's length, much like a smartphone. In fact, this is how you see a lot of the people in the sample imagery using this camera. The problem is, it doesn't work. See, the fact of the matter is, this camera shoots incredibly wide. I don't know exactly how wide, but it's wide. And that does make sense because the wider the field of view, the more likely you are to get the subject that's important to you in the frame. But the problem is, it's often way wider than you would ever want. And you could say, okay, well, I'll just crop it, but with only 2 megapixels at the native aspect ratio, keep in mind, you just don't have a lot of room to crop. I mean, look at the image quality. It's not got a lot of detail in the first place. Cropping in tighter just looks awful. I also like to really carefully compose my shots. I want to see what's in there, the foreground, the background, and learning how to do that was very frustrating. If I held the viewfinder out here, I get a very tight field of view, but the camera's way wider. It's when I bring the viewfinder to about my nose tip, like right here, okay? Then I actually get a fairly accurate reproduction of what my aspect ratios will be. Now, as I mentioned with aspect ratios, I can push these arrows and go to 3:2, 4:3, even a square aspect ratio. But again, setting those and then holding the camera out here is absolutely useless. You gotta bring the camera here to shoot. When I do that, I can't even see the center of the frame. Everything's out of focus as far as battery life indicators, whatever. It's just not like a nice shooting experience. And I honestly got better at just kind of imagining where this camera's pointing and just treating it like I was sticking in people's faces. But the frustration doesn't end there. I mean, as I say, the overall image quality is quite poor, but also there's no dynamic range and there's no way to really control light. You can't meter this camera, you can't go lighter or darker or anything like that. There's no flash, not even like an LED to help fill in some light. So if your subjects are backlit, they're gonna basically be almost black in shadow, and you don't have any dynamic range to bring that up. As well, if you do get close to subjects, and I'm talking like portrait mode, you know, like taking a picture of somebody up close or your food on a plate, anything within about 2 feet actually is noticeably soft, and it really then stands against the background, which is much more in focus, and so that's also disappointing. So don't get too close, but your frame lines aren't accurate, but you know, the image quality is not there to change exposure afterwards. You don't need room to push and pull. I mean, it's just not a fun experience at all. Oh, I mean, another issue I have with the viewfinder is keep in mind that if you hold this even a little bit off kilter, you know, your frame's gonna be going to the right, even though you think you might be shooting straight, you know, like this, something like this, or too high or too low. Anyways, it's a mess. I think you get that. Okay. Other notes that I wanna make about the shooting experience. So when I was taking this around to Japan, nobody noticed it. They didn't really care about it. They didn't really, you know, like talk to me. But I mean, Japanese people are shy. They kind of mind their own business. Even though this camera is incredibly loud, when you're switching through modes, it has a very loud chime. When you're taking photos, it's a very obvious shutter sound. I haven't found a way to turn that off. Like, it is distracting. I notice it. I know that other people notice it. But in Japan, they won't say anything. But Jordan and his family also had a copy of this to test out, and they took it around in Calgary, and apparently everybody was noticing it. Like, what is that? What is that camera? Like, who makes that? Is that a camera? Like, what is it? So I guess it depends what region you're in. Maybe Asia's used to stranger cameras as more normal kind of thing, and in Canada, we're like, nobody's ever seen something like this before. I have to admit, that's what intrigued me about this camera design. I just wish I enjoyed the experience more. As for the body housing itself, I mean, as I say, I did travel around this a lot, and it turns out you got to really baby this thing. So the outside casing, it would pick up some dirt and marks and stuff or be in my pocket, but that's mostly rubbed off. Who cares? It doesn't really affect the function of the camera, but the plastic screen inside is very soft plastic, and I must have rubbed it against something or my keys or change or who knows what, and the screen's now getting scuffed pretty good, and that's very distracting. When I hold it up, it's clearly this blurry soft spot in my viewfinder. You know, if you get it over the liquid crystal display parts, it's going to obscure them as well. So over time, I feel like this is going to get really rough and really beat up looking.
All right, it's Jordan to talk about the video capabilities of the Godox C100, which Chris is filming me on right now. And Chris is a master photographer with a perfect sense of composition, but I don't think that can save him from this video looking like garbage, because you have all the same limitations that we had when we were in photo mode, combined with the fact that video brings audio into the mix. The audio is not terribly good on this, and rolling shutter isn't a huge problem in photography, but it sure is here. It's really brutal. So unless you're using an old Sony Ericsson as your primary smartphone, your smartphone takes way better video than this piece of trash. Now, if you think that 1080p resolution that this shoots is too much detail for you, you can also crop it into a variety of aspect ratios, but I don't know why you would necessarily want to do that.
So as you've seen from Jordan, the video is nothing to write home about either. This camera does have one mode though, which might be a little bit of a redeeming feature. It does have a light meter, and though this will actually bring up a more complicated display, but I like this. It gives you your ISO, your aperture, and your shutter speed. Now I incorporate this center button on the control. I highlight one, and then I push the arrow keys to change the values. Now, as you can hear, it's still obnoxious. It's making those little noises every time I do it. And admittedly, it's quite slow. Like, to get my metering, it takes a lot of pressing button combinations, but it is functional. Some people might find that useful if this is just in their camera bag to assist their analog photography. That being said, I still feel like an app on your smartphone would do that far more effectively and conveniently. And frankly, your smartphone is going to take way better photos than this. It just makes this, I don't know, it's a fun thing, but I don't find it very useful in a practical sense. So I think you've gathered I don't like this camera. And I mean, look, yeah, it's a dash cam. The image quality is terrible, but I get that. People are going to put it on social media. They don't care. There's so many dash cam cameras on the market now. I'm just getting kind of tired of playing with them and getting the same old image quality. But I was really intrigued by the unique handling of this camera. I just wish it was more fun to use. The only saving grace for a camera like this would be that it's fun and interesting to shoot with it. But I found it frustrating, more complicated than it needed to be, and ineffective. And so, yeah, just not a good practical tool. Its saving grace is that it's affordable. Right now, these are about $45 USD. This couch, I think we got it for the exact same price. Infinitely more useful, this couch. So sadly, we own this now, so it's become another one of the hundreds of items that I'm just gonna have to keep charged with USB-C to make sure that the battery doesn't die and become absolute garbage. I'm gonna try to find somebody who might want this, although I don't really want to inflict that experience upon them. It's too bad too, because Godox makes some fantastic products. I love their flashes. Their IT32 flash, I absolutely love everything about that. It's so nice, it's fun, it's convenient. Of course, their studio lights have all been fantastic as well. Like, I love their products, but this is their first stab at just a really basic camera, and I don't like it. That's where it belongs. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this review, find it useful and educational. Maybe you still want to get one of these because the cost is so low, but leave your comments below. Let us know what you think about that. Do also check out the PetaPixel podcast. It's on this exact same channel, or you can watch it and listen to it on all your favorite podcasting apps. Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you soon with more from PetaPixel.